Thank you so much. Hi, I'm Rebecca Jones and welcoming you back to the Leadership and Management track. Today's theme is paddling. Yesterday was about understanding the river, and today is about paddling to get to where we need to go. And our underlying that is our sub-theme, if you like, which is that great results start with great questions. So our great question in this session is, which of these 5 tools are you going to try in the next week? Because remember, if you don't try what you are learning in the conference in the next really 5 to 8 days, it's gone. You'll pick it up again in a month and go, oh yeah, I was going to do that. You'll never do it. So we have a bit of a different presentation here for you, which is that we figure you've been sitting there listening to presentations and seeing all kinds of PowerPoints. No, this is going to be a little bit different because we are going to be pitching our favorite tool to you that is going to change your team's dynamics. So we have 5 tools, as we said, and each speaker has 5 to 6 minutes to pitch their tool to you and to rebut the tool that has just come before them. Then we are going to have a 30-second each smackdown, at the end of which you, the audience, will vote for the best tool you'll try in the next week. Of course, we know what the best tool is going to be, but I digress. And we are going to start with the Change Matrix tool from the great Andrea Chiquetta.
Thank you. The Smack Talk started in the green room. So as you can tell, we're all very excited to win your vote. But I'm going to share my screen with you now so that you can take a look at what this tool is. And let me make it beautiful.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'll give you some background on this. This is a tool. So my background is in organizational development, specifically in libraries, and that involves managing change. And so I first encountered this tool in my education in that field from my very dear and great mentor, Diane Abbey Livingston. And so this was really about, if you're planning a change initiative for your organization, very often the implementation of the change is the piece that we tend to rush through, right? We want to spend lots of time on planning and everything else, but then when it comes to actually embedding it, usually it's like, well, we'll train people and then, we're off to the races. And so the idea here is that we want to be really thoughtful, really thorough, really intentional in the way that we implement change so that we can make it last. And in order to do that, this is a tool that can help us kind of think through what that will look like. So it's a matrix. The way that it works, rather, if you look at the y-axis, the top half is really about how you work in embedding change within an individual, whereas the bottom half is more about the collective, like how does it work for the group, for the team. On the x-axis, it goes from, on the left, internal, which is the stuff that's really hard because you can't see it, you can't measure it, to observable on the right. And the idea is that you want to plan different pieces for each of these quadrants in order to make the change work. So I'm talking about this in terms of change management, and this is just what I basically just said. So this can be used in a lot of other contexts, though, and that's why I think this is the greatest tool, because it is very versatile. As much as we can use it for large-scale change initiatives, we can also use it for things like team building. If we want to do either performance coaching for individuals or our teams, this is a great way to think about it, because again, it's all about embedding behavioral change in a way that's holistic and that will make it stick. So I'm going to show you a few slides really quickly, and I'm hoping that this will be available afterwards. You can take a better look. But again, this is when you're looking at a process change, right? And it's just to give you an example of how you might plan it. So for mindset, you want to start there in terms of changing hearts and minds. You need to give people the knowledge that they need to get on board with the change. Maybe you have team meetings, maybe you meet with people to show them kind of what the change, what's in it for them, how this is going to work. How can you go about kind of adopting your skill set to the change? Behavioral is always the obvious one, training, right? We want to make sure that people have the skill set sets that they need. There's a lot of other things that I listed there that in the interest of time, I won't read out. But then we can also start to look at, like, collectively, how can we bake the change into our organizational structure? So do we have policies that we need to update? Do we have to do something to change our hiring practices or our HR processes? And lastly, the culture, right? So again, this is kind of like mindset on the collective level. You know, maybe you go around and talk to people and listen, like, what are you feeling about this? Like, what do you think about this change that we're proposing? Is this something that you can get on board with? You know, take a look and you see if people are getting on board. How do you recognize that kind of thing? You can also use it team building. And again, you know, take a look at how you can, for example, think about aligning, you know, if there's a team change, someone new comes on board, you know, focus on how you can identify the strengths of each team member and apply them to a change. For behavior, again, look at like what needs to happen to support behavioral change. Maybe that's job shadowing. Maybe there's some other kind of tool that you can employ. Look at from a structural perspective, maybe we're going to change some workflows. You know, we're going to look at scheduling changes, things like that, that are really about how the work gets done and gets embedded in our organization. And then again, from culture, right? I always do the ways of working charter. Anytime there's a new change to my team, let's come together and talk about what it's like for us to work together, to communicate together. How are we going to resolve conflicts? How are we going to change? How are we going to make decisions? You can also use it for goal setting or individual performance coaching. And this doesn't have to be even in a work context. You can do this for yourself too, and think about what's a change I want to make and how am I going to support myself in making that change in all these different quadrants. So, you know, again, like thinking a lot about how we meet and discuss the change in order to give people the information they need to change their minds and hearts. We want to, again, think about what is behavioral change going to look like? All of these things, you know, again, you want to go through and kind of take a look at what you can do in each of these areas to support the change. And then the idea is that in doing all of this work, you're going to have a really meaningful plan to make sure that change is embedded on multiple different fronts. It is something that requires some planning. It's not necessarily work that happens all in one day, but it is something that can be a living document too. And you can continue to check in, see how it's coming along, seeing how this is making meaningful change. And again, it's something that really helps to make the change sustainable, which is always the hardest part of change initiatives. So I have no idea how much time I took or how much time I have left, but that's my pitch for the change integration matrix. And I just want to add, I'm not 100% sure that that's the official title of this tool. So if you go and Google it and say like, I can't find this anywhere, she made it up. I really didn't, but I will just disclose the fact that I learned this like 15 years ago. It's never failed me in all that time, but sadly, I don't remember what it's actually called.
There, that was our little timer going off. Well done, well done. First into the ring. And Andrea is absolutely right. All the handouts are below the session description. And also you can go and look at the bios of everyone. But now let's bring in Boom Boom Daryl here. Boom Boom Daryl Joyce is going to join us from Greater Victoria Public Library. Go, Daryl.
Hello, thank you. I'm going to hopefully figure out the right screen to share with you. Click share. You have the right version? Okay, thank you. So for my brief rebuttal, let's just say that while change management is, of course, a very important topic and a timely one for sure, my tool is a more practical, hands-on, participative process that will instantly deliver you some results or actions to take as part of the process. There's no heavy theory. There's no, X or Y axes or charts, just people sitting in a circle talking and helping you solve your very real, very grounded problems and challenges. So this technique was introduced to me as one of the many wonderful tools and exercises explored in the LEADS program, which I highly recommend, shameless plug. It was my favorite out of all the exercises that we did in the program, and that's saying a lot because I learned quite a bit in that intensive program. And the techniques come from liberating structures, and you can learn more in the handouts uploaded to the presentation site. Okay, so how it works. Here's how it works in a nutshell. You form a group of 4 to 5 people. You can also do this in a larger group. They call that wise crowds. But I personally prefer the intimacy and the trust of a smaller group. Everyone takes a turn being the client, and the rest act as the wise counsel, or sometimes known as consultants. So the client provides a very brief, succinct summary of whatever problem or challenge they're facing. It's even better if you can provide a single page backgrounder in advance to the counsel with information like, what are you seeking from the group? What is the cost of this issue in terms of time or money? What solutions have you considered? What have you already tried? And then give a very brief 1 or 2 sentence summary or some bullet points of the how, why, and what. You can provide up to 3 possible solutions or options. Which option are you leaning towards and why? We did this for leads again, and it was very helpful to give the counsel time to prepare in advance to have a bit of a contextual understanding of our issue before we met. So then everyone sits in a circle. The client has 2 minutes to provide us a very brief summary of their issue to the group. And then the consultants or the counsel have 3 minutes to ask the client clarifying questions. It's very brief. It's just to get that informational stuff. And then next comes my favorite part. People who know me know I may be a little dramatic. The client then turns their back to the group while the group deliberates among themselves. Consultants ask each other questions. They offer advice and recommendations to the client while the client's back is turned to the group. The client cannot speak during this time. They must sit quietly and listen, and this is key. And this portion lasts about up to 8 minutes. The client then turns their back to face the group, and they have 2 minutes to respond and provide their feedback to the counsel. What was useful? What will they take away from the counsel session? What will their next steps be if they've made a decision on what they want to try? So why is it my favorite tool? I personally love this exercise because it taps into the hive mind, the skills and abilities and unique perspectives of others. It also requires the client to listen without responding or shutting down suggestions or ideas that come up, a problem many of us have. We've all had friends or colleagues who complain about something and you try to give helpful advice and they just go, no, that won't work, or I've already tried something like that, it's not going to happen. So this kind of removes that barrier. The council members will also improve on one another's ideas during the deliberation process. So there's sort of a fine tuning of recommendations. As the creators of the exercise state, the tool works especially well when working cross-functionally with council members of other departments, disciplines, or levels within or even outside an organization. It's a great exercise and a great way to build trust among a team because confidentiality is absolutely required and trust to share your problems. It's also a great way to practice active listening without getting defensive or interrupting, especially when there may be some high stakes challenges on the table. And finally, it's fun. You get to have a lot of joy in listening to other people discuss your problem, your challenge, and take it seriously, mull it over, talk about it, make some interesting assumptions and observations that you might not have even thought of. And then at the end, provide you helpful suggestions that you can actually take back to the real world and implement and play with immediately. Thank you. Now I just had to figure out how to stop sharing my screen.
Perfect. Just do that little stop share up there. And thank you, boom, boom. That was, I see clapping hands there. And while your description says that Christy Hennings from the Okanagan Regional Library System is to be here to talk about the RASCI, you get me instead. And let me just see myself here. I can't see myself, but anyway, that's all right. I can see myself over there on that one. Hi, my name is Becky Jones, and I'm here to tell you that while that wise counsel sounds all great, yeah, kumbaya, my love, kumbaya. Yeah, we all get together. It is, the problem with it is, and boom, boom, come on, you know, the problem with it is that people, you know, a wise crowd, well, all depends on what their experience has been. So you might not have any expertise in a particular area. And, you know, we've all seen crowds follow one person down the wrong path. So yes, pay attention to what Daryl was saying. Do have a look at the handout, but just keep that in mind because I have the tool you are going to want to have, which is the RASCI. And I hope that one of my friends on this call is keeping track of my time. The RASCI, and it is the runaway winner. Yes, indeed. Because If you have the handout, which you've gotten from below the description, you'll see that I've given you a nice little chart there. We have to make a million decisions. We have to implement many tasks, many projects in any given day, week, sometimes hour. And so we need to know who's got the R, meaning who is actually responsible for the task that has to be implemented or for the decision that has to be taken. Who's got the R, not on their forehead, but really on their chest, that they know they're responsible for this. No matter what, there's somebody whose A is on the line. That means that they are the approver or they're actually accountable for it. So if we think about who's probably on the call today, you're either in an academic library where the dean or the university librarian or whoever actually has the accountability for almost everything that's happening. Or in public libraries, it's the CEO, etc. And so the person that has the R, responsible, may or may not also be the person that has the A. But whoever has the A means they have to be kept in touch. We'll get to that in a minute. But there's always people, and since we're talking about team dynamics, that you need support from to make something happen. So who are those S's, the supermen, superwomen, super team members that you need support from to make this happen? And then there's the ones that you need to make sure you consult. You know the ones. They need to make sure that they've been heard. And actually, we do need their advice at times. So keeping in mind who you need to consult, just like a Daryl Boom Boom was consulting in the WISE Council. And then there's those that need to be kept informed, okay? Communication is always the biggest bugaboo we have in libraries. We are not, let's do a group hug, we are not great communicators. So who do we need to keep informed? And that is the beauty of the RASCI chart, is that we actually have people's names in each of those. And once we write something down, then we can see it and agree to it or go, oh my God, I didn't know I had to be consulted on that. Oh my God. Yeah, OMG would be the one under this. So that's the way I feel about the RASCI. I'm going to be keeping you informed as we go along here, and I'll be looking for the support and the consulting of all of our speakers here. But really, it's my A that's on the line for the Lead Institute, and in making sure that these tools are available for you, whether you're in the Institute or not. That's it. Did I stay under my time? Okay. And now we're going to move it along, MJ.
Okay.
Into the ring, MJ.
I'm in the ring. So I would just say claims of runaway winner are a touch premature. RASCI, or sometimes called RACI, if you're looking it up online without the S. I mean, there's already confusion about this tool, but I love filling out this tool as much as the next, but when I've seen it, it's project teams focused more on which names go in which boxes, and they're ignoring the fact that they should actually be doing the relationships and keeping everyone in the loop and talking more regularly. So I would say to you that, yes, project teams should use this, but then they actually have to do it and not just stop at the matrix, which is what I've seen project teams do. The other thing with RASCI is that it doesn't scale super well. You got a tiny project, it's almost a pain to do it. And if you've got a really big project, it's like you have endless rows of who's responsible for what task, and it quickly becomes overwhelming. So it works, but it's got a relatively small sweet spot in my mind. And so I think you need to be careful about declaring runaway winner. That's so bold. Well, I'll just share my slides here. So, you can choose a tool that's brought to you by the letters R, A, S, C, and I, or you could choose a military grade tool like the after action review. So let's go a little more adult here. So, the thing about the after action review is it can be used with large and small teams. It can be used as an individual. It can be used as a group. Really the after action review, just by the definition itself, should be clear. You take an action and then you review it. And so an action might be anything from running a project team to a presentation you're giving right now during Internet Librarian to something else. So you've got this whole scale of actions, and we all have many of them throughout the day. And then you have a simple tool to review. And so where does this come from? Well, it actually, I wasn't joking when I said military grade. The roots of this tool go back to the 1970s. They go back to the US Army, who were using it on the battlefield to figure out what strategies were working, which ones weren't, and then how to take that learning and implement it and put it into the next battle. Well, not surprisingly, corporate America picked it up a decade later and started these large Fortune 500 companies were starting to do after action reviews on their marketing campaigns or their strategic planning. And so they were starting to try to incorporate the learning. And then what happens in corporate America eventually trickles down to lots of other smaller organizations, including in the not-for-profit and social sector. And so you start to see this tool being used in organizations like libraries. So what's important to remember about this tool is that it is about capturing the lessons learned, but it's actually about changing behavior for the future. So yes, you want to talk about what went well and what didn't, but you actually want that change to impact the team in future campaigns, if you're in the military or corporate world, or in future projects or whatever you have on your plate. So here is, if you remember nothing else, this is the slide you need. It's 4 simple questions that you can do at any point. So the first thing is, what did we expect to happen? The second question, what actually happened? Third, what went well? And maybe why did it go well? And fourth, what can we improve upon and how? And so I use this tool just as an example, because maybe you want it a little more grounded. I use this tool with a hiring committee. We had completed our recruitment. We got to the end, and now we're going to debrief what went well and what didn't. So what did we expect to happen? Obviously, we wanted to get a candidate. What actually happened? Yes, we got a candidate, but we had some challenges with our process. So we started looking through, did we do everything the right way? Were we being equitable? That sort of thing. What went well, what didn't? And then here's where it gets really helpful, is that those lessons learned quickly changed our process the next time we did hiring. So that's the goal, is that change. So let me give you 5 quick advantages for why you want to do the after action review, like right after this conference. First is the after action review is not top down. It's not someone else telling you what you did right or what you didn't do right. It's the team looking at the action and deciding together. Second advantage, it's not about laying blame. We like to do that in libraries, but it's not about that. It's about figuring out what the obstacles were and how do we beat them the next time around. Third, there is no situation where you just agree to disagree. The team actually has to have tough conversations to figure out what the shared perspective and shared understanding out of the event was. We can't just agree because we feel differently. We actually have to hash it out. So those difficult conversations build better team morale. It uses data and reports, but it's not exclusively evaluating action based on data. It's about understanding the sequence, the story of events, the factors that contributed. So it feels a little more human. And lastly, it's not about just closing out a project and saying, well, we did our postmortem, we did our debrief. It's actually about bridging to the next project. It's about improving that next conversation or that next project. So like I said, you can use it in a personal setting. I might be using this with my 16-year-old daughter. Just how do I improve my communication with her? Let's do a little reflection. Or I might be using it on a multi-million-dollar, project expansion, building expansion for the library. It's that flexible. You're going to love it. I'll expect those votes to come in right away.
Yeah. Thanks, MJ. And now I want to introduce into the ring Mode. Mode will bring us diplomacy and grace. Mode, by the way, is with the National Research Council in Ottawa.
Hi all, nice to meet you. So Before I present my team, which is named Proper, let me tell you a little secret about the after action review model. The big problem with it is people don't care about the past. They don't want to know. They think the past is in the past and that's it. It's really, really hard to get engagement around it, unfortunately, because it looks like a great idea on paper, but really difficult to implement. Another thing that literature have told us about this thing is human brain do not like negative things. So it's really hard for people to acknowledge what they did bad in the past. I know it's not about pointer thinking, but that's what people think it's about. And then, you know, usually those exercises just become big congratulation party about how good we are and about how we should not change. So it's really, really a great idea on paper. It is unfortunately really difficult to implement. You need the right culture and you need amazing facilitator skill if you want it to be successful. So it's a bit difficult. But let me talk to you about a tool that works all the time. It's named Proper. It's my favorite management tool because it's a time management tool, and it was actually designed by MJ for the Whitewater First Time Manager course, which I recommend highly. It was inspired by the 7P framework. So it's basically a meeting preparation tool that it's super easy to use. There's an handout, like we said, but the handout is more like a training tool. After using it 2-3 times, it's just going to become a second habit. It's going to be in your brain every time you open an Outlook meeting. The 6th question, boom, 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 and you're in business. So it's the easiest thing to implement in your daily life. Why use it? You want to make sure all the meetings you are organizing or hosting are successful and that people know that when they go to your meeting, they're going to get things done. Their time is going to be well spent and they're going to have fun because everything is well planned. A little trick, try to be super specific and succinct. We're not writing an essay here. You're just, you know, like I said, most of it can be done in your head with a little list of tasks. When you plan your meeting, focus your role as being a listener more than a speaker. It's usually a mistake that we do, and try something new. You've heard a lot of things during this conference. My colleague presented you like with 4 really great tools. You'll be amazed at what a little bit of novelty can bring in your meeting. So Proper is 6 little simple questions that you have to ask yourself before you even send a meeting invitation. So the first one is the purpose. Why are you meeting? Is the meeting necessary to do what you want to do? That's really the first question. Second, the role. Who are going to be your invitee? This is super important because everybody, right from the start, when they receive the meeting invitation, they need to know what's going to be their role in that meeting. Why are they invited? Sometimes their role doesn't have to be active. It could just be supporting, being, you know, like a VP being there to make sure everybody attend to the meeting or support something that is a bit more difficult. So super important that when people receive a meeting invite from you, they know why they are invited. Third is the output. It's basically your goal. What will be produced? What will be decided? Super important that this is clear in your mind. If you want to achieve it, you need to know where you want to go. The process, it's the 4th question. It's just basically the roadmap to that goal. It's the meeting agenda. How are you going to get to that goal? What are the pieces you need to do? Do you want to do an ice-breaking session? You want to do a brainstorming, communication? And this is really where you can put the 4 little tools that my colleague have introduced as something in a workshop if you have a longer thing. 5 is the engagement. So it's basically everything technical or physical. Are you going to meet online? Is it hybrid? Is it in person? Are you going to use Miro? Are you going to use, you know, like a classroom? All those details needs to be clearly defined and decided in advance. And 6 is the risk. And I think that's really the value added versus other meeting planning method. It's kind of the blind side that other models don't think about. It's, you know, what can stop you? What are all the obstacles that can happen for your output, your goal not to be realized during that meeting? So you need to know how you will manage it because it's really hard and when emotions are there, when things are really stressed, to try to improvise and fix things. So, and here, don't only think about the famous technical issue that are now part of our daily life, but think about, you know, what happens if everybody shows late? If you have somebody with behavioral issues, somebody taking all the spaces, somebody being super negative, you as the meeting host, meeting organizer is really responsible to make sure everybody can play the role it was supposed to play in a meeting and is respected. So if you have a few, you know, contingency plan already planned, then you can do the right thing at the right moment. So that's the model I have to propose. Again, super easy to use. Try it, you'll see the impact right away. That's me.
Fabulous. Thank you, Maude. And now I'm inviting back into the ring Andrea to do the rebuttal to the proper.
I mean, you know, it's associated with meetings, which is like maybe its first issue, but I will say this for Maude, you're presenting a tool developed by MJ. Like, is this collusion? Is this scandalo? Like, I'm wondering about that. But to be honest, like I got no fight in me today. I think all the tools are fabulous. And I'm seeking the sympathy vote by being the nicest person here, by complimenting my colleagues. So well done, everyone.
Okay, all right. But, and this is Steve's challenge. Steve, we're going to do a 30-second smackdown. And this is the order for us. I should have sent this to Steve. It's going to be Boom Boom Daryl first, and then myself, and then Andrea, then MJ, then Maude. So we each have 30 seconds to do our smackdown. Daryl.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm going to show you this amazing slide that I forgot to show you at the end because my tool, Wise Counsel, is practical. You can do it tomorrow. It's easy to do. It's interactive. It's fun. It's social. And we are social creatures. It's a great tool to practice active listening. It's a great way to break down defensiveness in teams, especially for some people on our team that are actually having difficult hearing and who do shut down ideas. Make them go first. Put them in the chair. Put them in the naughty chair. Make them turn their back to the group. And then that forces them to listen, and it also forces them to think and be able to be open to other people's ideas. Like I said, we're social creatures, even though some of us are more social than others, and that's okay, but it's a great opportunity to be social together. And frankly, it's a great way to boss around your colleagues too. You get to tell them your amazing idea and why you're so smart, and they have to shut up and listen to you. So it's great.
Right.
Not for me. Boom.
That is right. Okay. And here I come. Okay. Give me an R, give me an A, give me an SCI. This is the tool you've got to try. Agree who's doing what, when, and why. Keeping people clear on things so no one will cry. That's it. Vote RASCI. Vote today. Vote often. Okay, Andrea.
I mean, that's hard to follow up. What I want to say, though, is the change integration matrix is a tool that can be used in multiple different scenarios. It has the advantage of, again, you know, you work hard on all of these initiatives, and the last thing you want them to do is fail because you haven't put the effort in to really make sure that the change is embedded. And I think that this is the beauty of the tool, is that the planning it takes up front saves you time and effort and heartbreak down the road. So I encourage you to vote the right choice, the change matrix choice.
Fabulous. MJ, move it in.
All right, so everyone's talking about their tool. How about we just use the after action review right now and think of this presentation as an action? So what did we expect to happen? We expected to have some fun, debating some key tools. What actually occurred? We mostly followed the agenda and stuck to the time. What went well? Yeah, the debate format was actually a lot of fun to present to. The rebuttals and counterpoints made it even more interesting, and the personalities in different slides were fantastic. What could we improve? Well, we could leave a bit more time for questions and engagements because I'm sure we've sparked a lot of thoughts. So in 30 seconds, we did the after action review. You might as well vote after action review right now.
Maude.
Okay, so, you know, meetings are part of a day-to-day life now. We cannot go without it. So if you have to be responsible for a meeting, use proper. It's gonna a little bit of time investment for a big result. And as you know, time is humans' only resources that we can ever gain back. It's not money, it's not houses, it's time. So be conscious of your time, other people's time, and you're going to realize people are going to love you. They know they're going to have fun when they go to your meeting. They know they're going to get the business done. And that's it. Vote for proper.
Okay, and now I am hopefully going to share a screen at which we can get the audience to vote. Is that showing everybody? Terrific. Okay, so if you go to menti.com and you put in the code 55368142 and vote for the tool you'll try next week. Hey, hey, hey. Okay, there's a mistake. There's a mistake. Okay, there's nothing for RASCI. Hello? Hello? What is happening?
That seems accurate, actually.
Okay,
I think we're fine.
what? Nobody's voting for RASCI?
You can vote, Rebecca. We'll never know.
Oh, thank you. Maybe, was that one of you? That was one of you, wasn't it? Because you hate it when I cry.
That was me, Rebecca.
Thank you, Steve. Look at that, proper. Oh, isn't that just so proper? See, Maude brought decorum and grace to our presentation, and she's taken off. Look at that. Okay.
Because it's a wonderful tool.
Exactly.
Even when you lose, you win, MJ.
Yeah, that's it. On top
Like
of it,
it.
they're kind of voting for two people here.
There we are. We are so hopeful that you will take the handouts and use them. Try a tool a week. Try Proper next week. Try RASCI the week after. Try Wise Counsel the week after that. Then the change integration matrix, then the after action review, and then go to the LEAD website and sign up for LEAD 7. We can't wait to see you. Or Whitewater may be running, as Maude said, Whitewater taught by MJ online, absolutely fabulous. And I can't thank my colleagues enough for joining me here for this fun thing. And guess what? Even though I'm stopping sharing here, even though Proper won, we do have a few minutes for questions. Look at that. We're good. We're good. Do we have a question? Oh, Shelley, thank you so much. And do we have any questions? Really? It was all so obvious, wasn't it? I know. Type questions here. I know. So questions. Anybody got questions of anybody? Anything else? Okay, what's your second favorite tool? What tool did we talk about that we love?
What about what tool would we use that's not our own? I'm kind of curious as to who's like, what have we been converted to?
Well, I have to admit, I use after action review quite a bit. So that was not a new tool for me. It is a good tool. And I definitely do think the debrief is so key, right? It's a great learning opportunity.
Right, agreed.
I'm a toss-up actually between both Proper and after action review, because I'm so big, coming from a corporate background. I'm so big on the postmortems, as we say, you know, and kind of looping around and kind of going, what worked, what didn't work, what can we improve on? But also meetings are so important, and it's part of my everyday life, pretty much all day, every day. So to have that tool and to think of that when I'm creating meetings with my team, I'm excited to give that a try too.
Fantastic. Terrific. Yeah, I like the pre-mortem tool too. So, so where you look at what do we not want to be talking about at the end of this project or this situation that we now find ourselves in. Yeah. MJ, what's another great tool for you?
Well, as much as I had to rebut RACI or RASCI, it is very helpful to keep a group organized. I'll admit it now after the votes are in. And I think what the trick is being very clear on putting specific names in that and not like groups. Like instead of saying like the executive group needs to be informed, say like who, because once you have names, then it's a little more real and you actually have to build that relationship. It's easier to sort of forget, or, you know, if it's just we named a committee, that's not helpful, right? You have to be specific.
No, exactly. And Maude, got another favorite tool you like?
I think I'm going to try the change management matrix. So I did a course in change management last year and didn't do anything with it, but it made me think that this model could make it easy. And there's a few things that are coming. Change. So
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go with that. Give it a shot. It's important.
Yeah, excellent. In fact, Andrea, I made myself a note, March 8th, when I have you at lead to talk about the change management integration. When we usually talk about Cotter and just a minute, was the ADCAR
Yep.
of the two. We didn't talk about ADCAR when you were there, Daryl. We've added ADCAR. And but Mo, do you remember the rubber band tool from Whitewater?
The name, yes.
MJ, do you remember the rubber band tool you taught us?
I do, yeah. Do you want me to explain it?
Yeah.
So basically it's a riff on the like classic pros and cons list. So when you're facing a decision, you know, who should I date when I'm in middle school or something, right? It's like pros, cons, like that kind of list. But the rubber band model switches it a little bit and says like, what's pulling me? So like what's attracting me to that option and what's holding me back? So less pro and con, like, you know, advantage, disadvantage, and more like what's motivating me forward or to stay with the status quo. Because it's still a decision to stay with the status quo and it might actually be the right decision. We tend to privilege action all the time. And so I think really understanding your internal motivation. So it's the rubber band because you kind of you're pulling both directions. And it comes from a great little book called The Decision Book. It's got 50 models that are, it was translated from German, but it's really interesting. They're really simply described and, you know, we use a lot of them. So if you're looking for a recommendation, there's the Decision Book, and then Game Storming is an old one, but it has a lot of the same kind of tools. If you haven't seen Game Storming, I would check that one out too.
Great, thank you. Do you know, so I think Jane Dysart's in this session today, and we have to start some way to keep track of all the books, sites, articles, videos that speakers keep bringing up. And I just have a huge list, and it's all little pieces of paper all over my desk. That was great, MJ. Thank you so much. And I just want to remind people we'll be back. Speaking of decision making, after lunch, we'll be back. MJ will be speaking, and he's just such a great creative speaker. Honest to God, I really can't stand it. But he is a great creative speaker. He'll be talking about decision making with Scott Hargrove from Fraser Valley Regional Library System. And after that, we invite you to come and do a case study with us. So no, we're not presenting a case study. You, the audience, are doing a case study just like you would do at LEAD, which is the best way to learn something. It is applying theory that you've been talking about for the past couple of days at all these great sessions and trying it out. So, and I also want to take 2 seconds to say thank you so much to Steve. Steve Nathans-Kelly has been keeping this track on track for the last 3 days, bearing with me while we try different things like this. We try breakout rooms, and he's just fabulous to work with. I can't thank you. Yeah, there's a heart going up for him. So thanks, everybody. Go have lunch. We'll see you back here at, what time is it, MJ? At 1:30 Eastern time to talk with MJ and Scott about decision making, and then at 2:30 to do a case study. Thank you so much, Daryl, Maude, Andrea, MJ. You're all fabulous. And thanks, Steve. I'll see you in a while. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.